DC Comics has appointed a new general manager that will start work in mid-September. They're taking over the role of editor-in-chief, and they're going to run DC Comics. Never heard of a general manager running a comic book company before, but it's a whole new world over at Warner Media. This is coming from Bleeding Cool. Let's get into the article. Before we do, if you want to support my work, it's a huge help to me. If you go ahead and subscribe, click the bell for notifications. I really appreciate it. Also, you can get a copy of College of the Dead Graduation Day at collegeofthedead.com. And you can sign up at epicmermaids.com to get a copy of The Mermaids when it comes out. When you sign up, we'll send you an email as soon as it launches. It's not launched yet. Back to the article. DC Comics appoints new general manager to start in mid-September. Interestingly, this guy is coming from the esports world, and maybe he's like the general manager of the new team at DC Comics. I don't know. Bleeding Cool has learned that DC Comics intends to officially appoint a new general manager. They're positioned to start on Friday, the 18th, September 2020. Which is a very specific date for a new position. Well, it is a specific date, but of course you need a specific date when someone's going to be leading whoever's still working there, the 2/3 of the remaining employees. No details about the new appointee have been given, except that their biggest area of recent experience involves esports. Esports is an interesting thing. It's relatively new. It's growing. It's huge. It's international. And esports, who knows what they're going to do with esports. This is coming from Roundhill Investments, just an aside. They're explaining esports to investors to understand. It does seem strange that people would rather watch someone playing a game than play it themselves. However, for the current generation of kids and young adults, spectating video games has become a notably popular activity, one that could conquer the landscape of traditional live media, sports, and entertainment. Over the past few years, esports and game streaming have rapidly moved from the fringe to the mainstream, and viewership is challenging that of traditional sports, which is really pretty amazing if you think about it. So, right now at 2019, the last count, the audience is like 454 million people interested in esports. And they expect by 2022, which is coming up soon, a market of 645 million people. It's international. The game publishers are making a fortune doing it. So it makes me wonder, what this experience is of this esports general manager, and is he going to bring some of that to DC Comics? Put in the comments below what you think. I think it's got to be something like that, right? They've also been told by multiple sources that Vince Letterio, Director of Publishing Operations at DC Comics, is also among the laid-off staff after over 28 years at DC Comics that followed a 10-year stint managing the comic book store Steve's Comic Relief. That's Steve Gursky, great guy. Vince is one of the longest-serving employees at DC Comics or at Warner Brothers as a whole. Okay, he's been there a long time. I understand employees are being required to work their notice period from 2 to 3 months, depending on their contract or position. And it's actually state law in California that you have to give people 60 days notice when you let them go. This will enable a more gradual change than the dropping off the cliff some feared, but it's not going to be a happy place remotely working for DC right now. It doesn't seem like it. And then DC is not even planning to open its Burbank offices until the new year. So whatever's sitting there in Burbank is not even going to be touched. God knows what they're going to do. How are you going to even get people their stuff? However, more information coming out may be hard to come by. Apparently, anger and frustration at a number of leaks regarding the DC bloodbath, which is what they're calling laying off 1/3 of all of DC's staff, has caused a 3-line whip to be imposed on DC employees regarding talking about the current situation to colleagues, friends, or family, let alone press. So that said, DC's not happy that people are talking about it, but of course people are going to talk about it somewhat, but I'm sure they've been threatened that they're going to watch it. There's a letterer here that they had an interesting update. They had DC Comics layoff details confirmed by letterer from letterer. It's actually a lettering supervisor. Until now, the DC Comics layoffs that Bleeding Cool first reported being announced on Monday were technically theoretical. DC Comics had decided at this time not to officially confirm any changes, though they've spoken to employees who have personally confirmed names and plans, though without attribution, meaning they don't want their names used. However, as of yesterday, things got a lot quieter, and as it was stressed that people do not talk to the press. One letter sent out to DC's lettering staff by DC lettering supervisor Josh Reed has been passed to Bleeding Cool this evening. It reads as follows. Hello. I wanted to take a moment to let you know that I'm among the many that were informed Monday that their positions at DC Comics would cease to exist sometime in the near future. It has been an honor and a privilege to serve you over the past couple of years. I will be continuing as lettering supervisor until mid-November, so for now you may still address all lettering correspondence to myself and Robert Clark. I will work hard to keep you updated as our new operating procedure is established. In the meantime, if you have any questions, please let us know. Thank you for everything. Best, John Reed, lettering supervisor. If this is John Reed's work, it's beautiful work. It's excellent, excellent work. And if Josh is that good, he's not going to have a hard time finding work. Josh Reed has worked for DC Comics for over 4 years, first as a narrative production artist and then as a lettering supervisor after previously working as a graphic designer for Aspen Comics as their sole letterer, as well as a production and editorial assistant at Top Cow. Probably is his work. Well, that guy is good. That guy is good. Josh confirms in the letter that he will still be at DC Comics until mid-November, and it seems that's the date given to most people who've been told that they are being laid off. So that's at least something. And yes, wishing the best to everyone at DC that has been cut. A lot of us in the independent comic book world have been saying we are expecting there to be a lot of layoffs at DC. This is not exactly what I expected, but I don't know what they're doing, to be honest. And they really haven't made their plans known. Once their general manager comes in, they'll start probably messaging out some information about what the new DC is going to look like. But they did lay off a third of their staff. They are bringing in this new general manager. They moved out Jim Lee as publisher. They moved out editor-in-chief Bob Harris. Jim Lee is staying in some liaison role for licensing and brand management or whatever. But they're clearly not giving him authority. And Bob Harris is no longer the editor-in-chief. He is a legend in comics. He's been at Marvel. He's very well known. I never met him, but I certainly know of him. He's very respected, very well known. He's been around the industry for a long time. So a lot of people leaving. So they've announced that they are not going to be doing their collected editions imprint where they rescan and retouch and repackage old material. They'll license that out to somebody like IDW, and they're not going to do DC Direct toys and collectibles anymore. They're going to allow that to be also licensed out to another company. Interesting. It's a lot of changes, but it's part of the focus of making this a big scalable business. Maybe they'll be an esports company. Who knows? Who knows? I'll have links to all these articles in the description below. Put in the comments what you think. Do you think DC is going to have some interesting revival? Do you think that maybe this esports thing is tied in with their future? I'd love to see what your thoughts are. And also subscribe to the channel if you can. It's a huge help to me. I really appreciate it. Click the bell for notifications. Check out collegeofthedead.com to find a copy of College of the Dead Graduation Day. We've got a great trailer right here, and you can play it, and you'll see it's very cool. And check out epicmermaids.com. All you got to do there is put in your email address to be notified when the book launches. It's a mermaids epic fantasy. It's very cool. It's like Game of Thrones with mermaids. All right, I will see you again soon with another video, and if I don't see you, I will miss you.